Thousands of years ago, before Rome, before Greece, before even the idea of an empire, there was a time when the world shimmered in bronze. From the deserts of Egypt to the mountains of Anatolia, from the palaces of Mycenae to the trading ports of Mesopotamia, a web of kingdoms thrived. They traded copper and tin, crafted swords that gleamed under the sun, and wrote the first laws of humanity. The kings of this age believed they had mastered the world. They built temples for gods who promised eternal order, and cities that pulsed with wealth, art, and innovation. But what they didn't know was that a storm was coming, one that would burn it all to the ground. Around 1200 BCE, the Bronze Age world was more connected than you might think. Egypt, the Hittites, the Minoans, the Mycenaeans, the Assyrians, all trading, writing letters, exchanging gifts. Ships crossed the Mediterranean carrying tin from Afghanistan, copper from Cyprus, and luxury goods from Crete. In one ancient tablet found in Ugarit, a king wrote to another, "Send me more copper, for my army is preparing for war." The language of diplomacy, commerce, and war was universal. Power was global. It was the world's first international age. But like any global system, it was fragile. And when one pillar fell, the rest followed. Then they came, from the sea. A people without a name, known only as the Sea Peoples. They appeared like ghosts on the horizon, fierce warriors who destroyed cities, burned palaces, and vanished into legend. Egyptian inscriptions speak of them. No land could stand before their arms. From Hatti, Kode, Carchemish, Arzawa, and Al-Ashia, all were cut off at one time. These weren't just pirates. They were a movement, an unstoppable wave of collapse. But who were they? Rebels, migrants, starving refugees, or the vengeful armies of fallen kingdoms? Even today, historians can't agree. But what's clear is this: once they appeared, the ancient world began to crumble. First to fall was the Hittite Empire, mighty rulers of Anatolia. Their capital, Hattusa, once filled with scribes and soldiers, went silent. No one knows who burned it, but when the smoke cleared, 800 years of history were gone. Then Mycenae, the land of warriors and legends, the home of Agamemnon, fell into chaos. Palaces that inspired the myths of Troy and Achilles were abandoned, their walls blackened by fire. In Syria, cities like Ugarit sent desperate letters for help. "The enemy's ships are here. Our city is burning. Send reinforcements immediately." That letter was found still on the clay tablet. It was never sent, because the messenger died before he could deliver it. Trade stopped. Writing disappeared. Craftsmanship vanished. For centuries, no one could make bronze anymore because no one could get the tin. The great palaces were replaced by small villages. The people who once wrote in cuneiform and hieroglyphs now lived simple, uncertain lives. This wasn't just a war. It was a civilizational blackout, a fall so deep that even memory was lost. For 300 years, humanity forgot how to build cities, read, or trade across oceans. Historians call it the Greek Dark Ages. But the truth is, it wasn't just Greece. It was the entire known world. How could such a vast world collapse all at once? Theories abound. Some say climate change struck first, a devastating drought that dried the crops and emptied the rivers. Others blame earthquakes, which destroyed port cities and weakened empires. Many point to internal rebellion, commoners rising against the kings who taxed them into starvation. And then there's the Sea Peoples, finishing what nature started. But maybe it wasn't just one cause. Maybe it was everything, all at once. A perfect storm, war, famine, migration, and the death of trust between nations. Once the system fell, no one could rebuild it. Yet, not everyone vanished. Egypt survived. Barely. Pharaoh Ramesses III fought off the Sea Peoples in a battle so fierce it was carved into temple walls. He won, but at a terrible cost. Egypt's golden age ended with him. In the ashes of the old world, small tribes began to rise, among them the Phoenicians, who would later build great cities like Tyre and Carthage. And in the rugged hills of Greece, survivors built a new culture from the ruins. They called it the Age of Heroes. From those survivors, centuries later, would come the poets, Homer, Hesiod, and the birth of the classical world. The Bronze Age collapse isn't just ancient history, it's a warning, because the same forces that destroyed those civilizations, climate change, resource collapse, war, mass migration, still exist today. They built a global system, just like ours. They thought it would last forever, just like we do. But when the world became too interconnected, too fragile, too dependent on trade and stability, it took only one spark to set everything ablaze. And when it was over, no one remembered how it began. Only the ruins remained, and the whisper of a question that echoes through time. Can a civilization ever truly be safe from collapse? This was the story of how the first great civilizations fell, not to gods, not to monsters, but to themselves. Their fall gave birth to a new world, one that would rise, fall, and rise again, because history never ends, it only resets.